like to call the meeting to order for our South Hill Town Council meeting for Monday, September the 12th. Shall we pray? Our most gracious Heavenly Father, as we assemble here tonight, let us be mindful of the many blessings that we have, dear Lord. And dear Lord, as we think about the events that took place on 9/11, let us also be in memory of those families and members and the rescue people that participated in that tragic event. And dear Lord, continue to heal those families, because it is something that we will never forget. As we go forward, dear Lord, be with us, guide us, lead us and direct us in the many things that we do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Anna, roll call.
Lily Fagan-Spoon.
Present.
Alex Graham.
Here.
Gavin Honeycutt.
Present.
Dolores Luster.
Here.
Mike Moody.
Here.
Shep Moss.
Here.
And Joseph Taylor.
Here.
Council, you have been given the agenda for our meeting tonight. I'd like to make a couple of additions. One would be a closed session involving legal, section 2.2, discuss matters involving consultation with counsel advice on FOIA compliance. I'd like a motion for that addition.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The second addition I'd like to make to the agenda, council, would be the meeting tonight in honor of Gilbert Luster, the husband of Dolores, and I just want to be that in memory of him. And so may I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, council. Now, with that being said, with those two additions to the agenda, may I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Under the approval of minutes, we have three different ones we need motions for. One would involve the August 8th, 2022 work session.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the work session.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Also, council entertain a motion for the acceptance of the notes from our special meeting.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? On our third one, council, a motion for the minutes for our regular meeting that was held.
So second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes.
After you, Mr. Moss.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Mine's very simple. A singular amendment to the minutes, and this is spelled correct. The word defer is used in it, and it should be refer.
In the
In the description of the narrative as to what happened at the meeting during the regular meeting. It's just a substitute.
Very good.
Refer for defer.
What section was that?
The section describing each member's statements during the regular meeting.
Could you be a little bit more clear on which part? I just tried for clarification.
It's the portion of the meeting in which we discussed the motion for referral of both FOIA matters as well as the documents from the town dump site for referral to the Commonwealth's attorney or investigative authority.
Thank you. For clarification, I just wanted to know what we were saying yes to.
Okay, Councilman Moore.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'd like to address the minutes from last month's meeting.
Real quick, I don't see a red light on Mr. Moss's. There you go. Okay.
Sorry, I thought it was on. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, fellow council members, and to the citizens of South Hill. Over the past 2 years, there's been a great deal of talk about issues that I've raised in town council meetings, and most recently about the burning of public documents. I believe that all forms of government, including our local government, should be fair, open, and transparent. I believe that our town government is obligated by not only morals and ethics, but by law. We're required to provide accurate information, a fair, non-hostile working environment, as well as productive council meetings. In my opinion, over the past few months, these beliefs have not been allowed to take place. In my opinion, we've had citizens come forward with questions and concerns that were not answered. And even in some cases, in my opinion, were looked down upon for even questioning the decisions of council or decisions made by staff. In my opinion, we have heard unfounded and false allegations towards our volunteer fire department about the taking of pictures of the burning documents. I want to let our fire department, along with our EMS and police departments, know that I fully support these vital, life-saving, award-winning departments that are such a great asset to our community. I want the members of these departments to know that I feel safe and sleep better at night, knowing that they are protecting my family, my property, and my community. In my opinion, we've also heard...
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Moss. This has nothing to do with approval of minutes. I welcome Mr. Moss's comments, but shouldn't it be better situated on some other portion of the agenda? Perhaps added as an item. It has nothing to do with approval of the minutes.
I guess it come under the discussion part.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In my opinion, we've also heard conflicting statements, misinformation concerning the documents, and my actions surrounding them. In my opinion, the local government and town council meetings are not the arena to make what are, in my opinion, false allegations, to project false narratives, or to portray citizens, organizations, or fellow council members as criminals or thieves, especially based on contrasting public statements from month to month. In my opinion, our local government should not be on witch hunts or using our power to carry out personal vendettas against fellow council members, employees, organizations, or citizens. The makeup of our council has changed since the last meeting, and it will continue to change with the upcoming elections in November. Now is the time for our community, our council, and our town staff to come together and work towards solving some very apparent issues that we're dealing with. Now is the time to let all prospective businesses looking to locate here in our community that we are open for business, that we have a wonderful business development manager committed to attracting the best of the best businesses here with good paying career type jobs, that South Hill has some of the most aggressive incentives of any locality our size, and we're fully supported by this council as well as two business-based organizations. We have a mayor in Dean Marion and a vice mayor in Mike Moody that I know are dedicated and committed to making our town and community a beacon for success and prosperity, as well as a model for other local governments to follow. Couple these assets along with our hospital and brand new high school facility, we are ready for a new direction and a new level of success. Now is the time to thank our contractors and investors for their consideration of even investing in our community. We need your continued efforts to bring more housing, family entertainment, and business opportunities for our citizens. Your commitment to our community is appreciated, and it does not go unnoticed. To you, I say thank you. Now is the time for our elected officials and staff to embrace new ideas, new approaches, and a new train of thought process. The world has changed, and it's continuing to change. In my opinion, we can no longer continue to have the mentality of that's the way we've always done it. We have to be very aggressive with looking for ways to say yes, not to just automatically say no. We need to have clear and concise policies and procedures for our employees as well as our citizens. In my opinion, we can no longer continue to choose not to address problems, but rather do our civic duty and fulfill our obligations as elected officials to evaluate, process, and work together to address and solve issues as they arise. In my opinion, now is the time for the personal attacks, false allegations, the misinformation, and the negative billboards to stop. It is time to start working together. It is time for decorum and decency to return to our monthly meetings. It's time for all of these things I mentioned to happen, but in my opinion, it's also time for truth, transparency, as well as town leadership and a staff that's approachable. open to suggestions, and ready to move forward. To borrow a phrase from one of my well-respected friends and business colleagues of mine, 90% of the truth is still 100% a lie. To my fellow citizens, council members, business partners, and town employees, I'm committed to this great town as you are. I'm committed to our success, to our happiness, and I ask that you join me in the same. I will continue to do my best to bring you the truth. I will continue to ask the tough questions and to be the best council member that I can be. I was elected to do more than just pass a budget and handle policy issues, as been stated in past meetings. My fellow council members, we were elected to be both legal and monetary fiduciaries for our taxpayers. We were elected to ensure our community is stable, healthy, and successful for many future generations to come. We were elected to make sure that our citizens are told the truth and accurate information 100% of the time. We were elected to govern this town, not just rubber stamping the information that was given to us. The citizens of South Hill, now is the time for leadership like we've never seen before. Now is the time to pull from leaders of our past to help mold our future. Now is the time for trust, truth, and transparency for our citizens. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and go to work for this great community, and I ask you to join me in embracing this new time for South Hill. Now is the time.
Any further discussion? Okay. We have a motion and we have a second, Adam.
Yes, sir.
All those in favor of the minutes from our last meeting?
It's,
I'm sorry.
we've already got a motion in a second.
So we already got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, citizens to address council. I think Carl Sasser. Yes, if you'll come up to the microphone and state your name, please.
Right, that's
Uh-huh.
Carl Sasser. Live on 404 Jeffries Lane here in South Hill. Been a resident for 53 years of South Hill. What I'm coming to address is a situation with the water bill and the way they do the late penalty on it. About 2 months ago, the 21st fell on a weekend, and I came in that Monday morning to pay my water bill. Well, the lady told me, said it was the amount plus the late fee. And I said, well, the 21st was on the weekend. She said, well, if you don't have it in here before, and I thought she said 8:30, but according to Ms. Cottrell, I think she said 8 o'clock. And I said, so I didn't say anything. I let it go, paid it, went on about my business. Well, this past month in August, the 21st was on a Sunday. So I came in Monday morning. I came by and dropped it, and you were right. It was 8:17 because I punched in late that morning because I was late. At 8:17, I dropped it in the box, and she went back and looked on the camera and saw me. I got a letter in the mail saying I owed a late fee. So I'm like, how do I owe a late fee? Any place I've ever done business, if the due date falls on a holiday or a weekend, you get the next business day till 5 o'clock to make the payment, except for the town of South Hill. I've got a copy of the ordinance. It is, and I got several copies if y'all want to look at it. But it's Code 1974 31-36, Section 86-56. And it says, if you come down to D, it says, should the 22nd or 10th day, the way it works is, if you don't pay it by the 21st, during normal circumstances, you have until the 10th to pay the late fee, or the next day you get your water cut off. Am I correct? Okay. All right. It says in here, should the 22nd or the 10th of a month fall on a weekend or legal holiday, what does the 22nd got to do with anything? The due date is the 21st. It was either a misprint or somebody didn't understand. It should say, should the 21st or 10th fall on a weekend or holiday, you have until 5 o'clock the next day at 5 o'clock to pay the bill, the next business day. Because it could be Monday, could be a holiday. So it just depends on the next holiday. It's confusing because if I'm a person who wants to come by and pay my bill, what you're telling me is I got to pay it Friday if I'm a person who likes to walk in here and write a check, if I don't pay it Friday or drop it in a box before 8 o'clock that Monday morning, then I'm late. That's not, I don't know anywhere who has that practice. It's just wrong. And it's misleading, and you don't see anywhere in here about must be in a drop box before 8 o'clock on the 22nd, on the, the next day. It's not in these ordinances anywhere. That was something somebody added later on, trying to help people. But it's wrong. It should be, if the 21st falls on a weekend or a holiday, you have to make your bill, pay your bill by the 5 o'clock the next business day, not the 22nd.
Thank you. Council, comments to staff in regards to this?
Kim, can you explain what he's saying as to why it's done like that?
The ordinance does say that the late fee will be added on the 22nd.
Okay.
And we have 6 ways for people to pay their bill by the 21st. And as he said, you can choose.
Can you name the 6 ways?
Sure. You can walk in and pay it.
You can't, if it's on the 21st. Go ahead.
Walk in and pay it. You can put it in the drop box. We have a town website. You can have your bill drafted. You can call in ahead of time and pay it. You can credit card over the phone, or you can mail it.
Now, each one of those that you did with a credit card is a fee attached to that, right?
There is a fee to do
Okay,
it with a credit card.
so there you go.
But you can call.
But what I'm saying is still a fee. If I call and say, take it out of my checking account, it's still a fee, correct?
I couldn't hear that.
And you pick your day to be drafted, and there's no fee for your traffic.
I'm just saying, you got to be consistent with this. You can't say the 22nd has nothing to do with anything.
But it does. The ordinance says the late fee applies on the 22nd.
What if the 22nd is a holiday? What I'm getting at, Kim, is if your bill is due on the 21st, okay, what you're telling me is I'm a person who elects to walk in and pay my bill. That's my choice. I don't care if you got 100 ways to pay. My choice is to walk in and pay my bill. You're telling me if I don't pay it on the 19th or the Friday before the weekend of the 21st, I'm late.
The ordinance says that the late fee goes on the 22nd.
Regardless of where the due date falls.
Well, and if you look at, and I understand what you said.
You know exactly what I'm saying.
Exactly. I do.
Every bank in the world, if you have a loan and you go and get a loan and the due date is whatever that date is, if that date falls on a holiday or a weekend, you have till the next business day at 5 o'clock.
If it's postmarked by
Well, there you got postmark is if you mail it.
It does, but I have 2 credit cards.
Right.
And they both say, if we don't receive it, if you don't receive it.
But your bill doesn't say that. Your bill, when it comes to me, it says due date. It doesn't say received by.
Mr. Cowles, is this something that perhaps staff can look at and
We'd
get back
be
to
glad
us
to look at it, sure.
and see if we can work this out, because it seems like it's some gray areas there as to the way
Yeah.
it's posted. And to be fair to Mr. Sass and
Sure.
everyone else, take a look at it and get back to him. Do you need a time period?
No, I mean,
By the
I
end
think,
of
I
next-
think his concern is the way this was enforced was exactly the way the ordinance is written.
I understand.
It will take a change to the ordinance to adjust his concern.
And that's why I'm here.
So, and that's what we can do is look at the ordinance.
I don't
and get
agree
back
that
to
I don't disagree that what you're enforcing is what's here.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is what's here is wrong.
Yeah.
Would you let the staff take a
Yes,
look at it
we
and
can.
bring it back and,
Sure.
and see if we can work this out?
Sure.
Mr. Sasser, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And can you do that for the food tax also? Because the food tax
I'm
is the
sorry.
same exact way. And the penalty on the food tax is unreal. And if it falls just like he does, they get double penalized. And it's huge.
Question, Mr. Mayor, on Mr. Sasser's point, does that need to go to like Water and Sewer Committee to review that ordinance, not just staff review it? Because
I will leave it up to Mr. Cowles to decide if he wants to involve.
We'll look at it and then we'll get back to the council and, I mean, we can make a simple recommendation to address his concern.
If it falls on a holiday or weekend, to let them know about the time.
Yeah, there are
It may
several
have to be a little
ways,
bit more
there are several
explicit
ways to clarify it.
Okay.
It sounds like the wording is ambiguous.
The wording is
Yeah,
We can
it's ambiguous.
clarify.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Crowder, if you will, approach the microphone and state your name, please.
Wade Crowder. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, last town council meeting. 2 days later, I come to the town office. Walking down the hall, I spoke to a lady. She didn't speak. I said, "You don't speak?" She opened the office door. She turned around, looked at me. She said, "Go F yourself." That's a town employee. Works for me.
What?
So that's the way that went. And about 2 or 3 days later, I heard through the grapevine. That was Leslie, Leslie. Leslie was the one who told me to go F myself. 2 or 3 days later, CJ, he wanted to get in on it. So he made the comment I was the village idiot. Now, I don't do that, I ain't an idiot. But he works for me. Now, if he told you that, you'd do something about it. Because he works for you too. Now, I don't want you to do nothing to both us. I don't want to do nothing to Leslie. I don't want to do nothing to CJ. It all starts at the top. When the town manager can't tell the truth, then it folds on back down to the employee. So it starts off at the top. Town manager example, 23 lights burning, he says 4. Files being burnt, he said they're completely burned. No trespassing sign, he says no trespassing sign was put up. I mean, how in the world the employee's gonna do any better than the town manager does when he can't, and he'll sit there while somebody's griping, and he'll smirk and turn his face around sideways when somebody's talking. He don't need to do all that. Just sit there with a blank face, just like those other people should have kept their mouth shut. Now, another thing, the town took off all last week. What if every place of business take off for a week because somebody got the COVID? This whole town would shut down. It's no reason to shut the town down, and you got to call and get an answer machine, and then somebody calls you back, and it don't need to do that. How about the hospital done it? Somebody got it. The car salesman, the Burger King. I mean, when you're open, you're open. If somebody's sick, that somebody goes home. But you don't shut down the whole department and not have anybody working. And if they don't want to work in the office, put them out there on the street, let them work. There's a plenty of curving around here and storm drains that are stopped up. They can go down and clean those storm drains, but they're getting paid, they're sitting at home on the butt. It ain't the way the world works. And only government can do this sort of thing. So that needs to be changed, but we need a new town manager. I got no faith in that town manager, zero. So we need a new town manager. And don't say, all right, I'm talking right now, but we need a new town manager. That's the final line on it.
Public hearing.
Good evening. A notice of public hearing was published in the August 24th, 2022 edition of the South Hill Enterprise to inform interested parties that council will hear comments regarding a proposed real property tax increase. Based on the recent reassessment, real property values in the town increased by approximately 11%. Code of Virginia Section 58.1-3321 requires either a reduction in the rate of levy for the forthcoming tax year so as to cause such rate of levy to produce no more than 101% of the previous year's real property tax levies, or holding a public hearing to implement an effective rate increase. And at this time, I'll open the public hearing.
Now, what are we talking about doing? Increasing our taxes? That's what I'm after. I don't understand all these words. We talk about increasing taxes.
We are talking about leaving the tax rate as it currently is, 34 cents per 100.
I go for that.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing.
Mayor and Council, Budget and Finance Committee met on August 4th to discuss the real estate tax rate as a result of the increased property values. And after discussion of several anticipated expenses, which were not included in the fiscal year 23 budget, the committee unanimously agreed to recommend maintaining the real property tax rate at 34 cents per $100 of assessed value. That is what we are recommending to the council, and I will put that in the form of a motion.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, notice of public hearing was published in the August 31st and September 7th editions of the Enterprise to inform interested parties that council will hear comments on the town's intention to sell to the Roanoke River Service Authority its real property interest related to some easements and properties for water distribution lines which extend south of town from Vault A to the water tank out along Highway 58. And the water tank is at Big Fort. And then along Highway 58 to close to Borden, together with all other water facilities that are part of those distribution lines. Water customers served by these lines will be served by the Roanoke River Service Authority after the sale. On August the 8th, at its regular meeting, council adopted a resolution authorizing and approving the sale of certain water facilities of the town of South Hill to the Roanoke River Service Authority. So essentially, all those things that are south of town and west along Highway 58 would be taken over by the Roanoke River Service Authority. And at this time, I'll open the public hearing for comments. Hearing none, we will close the public hearing.
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the sale of the real estate property interest to the Roanoke River Service Authority as presented in the resolution at last month's meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Alan?
Fagan Spoon,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Luster,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Moss,
Yes.
and Taylor.
Yes.
The next public hearing, we published the notice in the August 31st and September 7th editions of the Enterprise to inform interested parties that council will hear comments on a proposed reduction in the water and sewer connection fees adopted as part of the town's FY 22-23 budget. The proposal is to reduce the minimum water connection fee from $2,000 to $1,000 and to reduce the minimum sewer connection fee from $3,000 to $1,500. And I'll open the public hearing.
Say that again, the last numbers, your numbers, what were your numbers? What were your numbers to reduce it to, right there, that last sentence?
It would be to reduce water from 2,000 to 1,000 and sewer from 3,000 to 1,500. That's what the rates were last fiscal year.
I got a comment. You shouldn't have never jacked them up to start off with. That was I leave the dumb word out of it, but you shouldn't have never jacked them up double to start off with.
So what's the total cost gonna be to hook up water to a house? Can I hear it from him?
So
People need to step forward.
the minimum water connection fee would be $1,000. The minimum, and that's the base fee. It can be higher depending on materials. And then the minimum water sewer connection fee would be $1,500.
And who gets to?
Miss Hayes, could you come to the microphone? Could
Y'all
you?
can hear me, who
It's being streamed.
Procedure.
who gets to decide that
But can you
cost?
come to the microphone, please?
No, I don't wanna come to the microphone, this has been going on and on and on. Who gets to decide this fee?
It's a procedure.
I would
Please come to the
ask,
microphone.
because people, it's being streamed, if you would, please.
Who gets to decide this fee? You said a minimum fee, so who gets to decide? Because When we were told it was 5,000 and then it was 6,500, I still don't know what the extra 1,500 was for. So who gets to decide what the fee is gonna be? What determines that fee? Who decides the material costs? If it's this much, that much, labor? I know you,
The minimum standard fee is based on a standard residential 2-inch connection for water and sewer. If it,
3/4 by 2 inch.
3/4, okay, but if it's bigger, like a 2-inch, then we have to figure the cost of the meter and the extra labor and all of that to go out there, and people are informed of that. Will be informed of that, but the staff will look at the cost of materials, which can change from day to day.
yes, it can, hour to hour, actually. Hour to hour, actually.
Thought process.
Just look out for your people that are coming to this town to invest in it and say thank you. Thank you for coming. And let us thank you for coming because we get personal property tax off your house, off your lot, off your cars. We get water and sewer hookup. It just goes on and on to your advantage. That's saved us.
Are there other people who'd like to comment or have questions?
Could you come to the microphone, state your name, please?
Yeah.
Good evening, my name is Bain Cameron. It seems to me that there are two issues for council to consider with regard to the adopted changes in water and sewer fees for the current fiscal year. In looking at the slide deck from the budget's adoption, we see adjustments to not only the water and sewer hookup fees. No, most of the water supply and therefore the disposal rates also increased. Surely it would be inconsistent of council to roll back connection fees without handling the other simultaneously changed fees in the same way. Whatever wish one may have about communication of the budget in regard to hookup fees, precisely the same communication occurred with regard to water service and disposal fees. Those changes affect thousands of households and businesses in and around South Hill. Nobody likes to pay more for the same service, yet the community does not seem to have a difficulty in understanding and accepting the increase. Turning to the particular adjustments which have their hearing this evening, I encourage the council to place great weight on what are by all indications undisputed factors. Factor 1, the rates have not been increased for decades. Whether they could, should, or might have been incremented more gradually and more frequently, connections purchased last year were a steal at well outdated levels. Factor 2, the budget adoption process undertaken earlier this year by the town, the council, and all interested parties was proper, usual, and customary. If, for example, I did not attend the spring budget hearing, it is the fault or shortcoming of no one. Simply, rather, I chose not rather to engage, to offer input through long and well-established order at the appropriate time. As to the suggestion that a development of 160 units could be influenced based on the current fees, I am confident that any business would consider the relative benefits of locating its investment in South Hill. In that utility connections increase the value of a property, the fees paid accrue to the real asset of the business. To have fees rolled back for 10 months would deliver a summary $160,000 value increase to the business on July 1, 2023 from water connections, with another $250,000 increase from the sewage hookups. Were one person to come before the council with a compelling, valid grievance, I would hope that the decision would be for justice. However, in a community of thousands, if council entertains every self-interested petition from a handful of citizens, would it move us forward as a community? As you look out at the council chambers this evening, be reminded that thousands stayed home, not because of a rainstorm, but because they trust you to uphold a properly adopted budget. With no compelling reason to modify the budget in the contemplated regard, I encourage council to maintain the adopted budget and its enacted fee structure. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to comment? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing.
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the rate as stated by our town manager, the $1,000, and for the connection, and then the sewer, 2,500. Is that
15.
15?
That's the minimum. That's
So
the minimum.
I'm sorry, you're right. 2,500 total for the following 10 months until the Budget and Finance reconvenes next year. That's my motion.
May I clarify?
Yes, sir.
Be sure I word this correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong, that the motion would be to reduce.
Reduce it, yes, sir.
Reduce the current water and sewer connection fee.
Yes, sir.
To reflect the fiscal year 21-22 rates, and that this be until next year, until June the 30th of next year, and that this rate could go into effect 9/15/22. That'll give staff 3 days to adjust their books.
That is correct.
Would you consider amending that to that motion?
I will amend that to Councilman Moody's.
So we have a motion, Mr. Honeycutt, do we have a second?
I would second.
Discussion. Clarity on my part.
Yes, sir.
So with the charges that have been to date, how is that going to be handled?
It's my understanding in talking with legal counsel that anyone who has already paid from July 1st until today has paid the new rates, that they would not be entitled to get a refund because it was paid based upon the current rates. That, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Estes, state law would not allow us to give them their money back on any excess that has already been paid.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, so you can't really legislate retroactively, so you'll be legislating proactive.
Going forward.
Right, going forward, so that you really can't legislate retroactively, which this would have the effect of doing if you gave a refund or something like that.
And for clarity, if council so desires and passes the motion, which has been seconded, anyone who wishes to do a water and sewer hookup now, wait until September the 6th, wait till September the 15th to do it, because if you do it between now and the 15th, you won't get your money back. Wait 3 days to let the staff get their books correct to reflect the new rate if council passes this motion.
And I'm asking for clarity, is that confirmation from the staff? On what Councilman Moody just said?
Yes.
Here, excuse me. So, Mr. Estes, what you're saying is there is no redress of nothing that the developers that paid it previously from July 1 through today. There is no law that would.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, council members, you legislate going forward. You can't really do anything in the back and backwards. It's no different than people paying their taxes on their property. Those rates change, values change, and you paid it. There's not an expectation for a refund. So that's you invite the problems of other people who have thought this may be coming and have not paid their connection fees, thinking that there may be a redress going forward. So if it's not, you end up with people then saying, well, what's my new rate going to be? So there's a public policy aspect of having consistency in your rates and charges.
Okay. Thank you.
Question. Mr. Callis, what is the process? I think a valid question was asked. Is it who determines what, if it's over these fees, who determines that cost? Is it at cost? Is it cost plus a percentage? Explain that process to me.
The Public Works Department does the calculation.
Now, who is that?
C.J. Dean is the Director of Municipal Services, and he will work with the superintendents, and they will look at the materials and whatever, the cost of the materials, the cost of the labor, and determine what the cost is if it is a non-standard meter. And
so it's not a cost plus a percentage, it's just straight cost.
That's right. And actually, our fees are substantially lower, even at the increased rates that they were. They are still substantially lower than the statewide average.
do we provide the customer with a copy of a receipt for those materials where they can see what that cost is?
Yeah, we'll tell, if they ask for it, sure. But they get a receipt for when they pay their connection fees.
Well, I understand, but I meant for the materials
Yeah.
and the labor.
Yeah. We'll give them a receipt for whatever they pay, they will get a receipt for that.
That wasn't my question. Do they get to see a receipt from ABC Hardware for PVC pipe and fittings?
If they ask for it, we'll be happy to provide that.
Thank you. That was my question.
Yes.
Mr. Callis, to review again, based on some of the comments I'd made at the last meeting, was the prior budget properly advertised in the newspaper?
Yes.
Did it meet specific font requirements prescribed by the Code of Virginia? to your
Yes.
knowledge? Did Budget and Finance Committee meet numbers of times in preparation for both public hearings in the spring and eventual adoption of the budget in 2022?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, just the comments I would make with respect to this, we've heard with respect to my colleagues who've stated that we need to correct the budget or whether there's some redress. It's already correct. It's correct. The figure's correct. The contemplation of that figure was done deliberately with proper notice to the public. I'm extremely concerned that we are setting a standard that will bite us in the future based on complaints others may make with respect to the cost or the price affixed to taxation, fees. This was a budget process which was to the line or by the book, statutorily correct, and we're setting a poor example today with respect to budgeting process. It's unwise, it's impractical, and I think sets us up for a massive problem moving forward with respect to other issues. And for that reason, I would move the members to say no to the motion.
Councilman Hunter?
Yes. Mr. Taylor just addressed it. It was gone over line by line. He is incorrect. That budget, I sat in on 4 days. This particular line item was never brought up. It was never made mention of. And again, I am at fault for not looking at the budget more closely and seeing those hikes. So I just don't want that misinformation to be out there. I would hope that Councilman Moody would back me up on that he was in those meetings as well. He never missed one. I didn't miss one. And it goes back for me to these builders that had projects already projected for this year. And to get that kind of significant increase, they did not budget for that. And I felt like that I was robbing them of monies because for whatever reason, you're saying it met font. Again, I didn't see it. Again, my fault again. But again, I'm not trying, it is right, it was in the budget. But again, I just, if we're going to say something, I want it to be correct. Because it was not mentioned until Mr. Freeman came to that podium that night. That was the first I heard of it. Again, my fault for not looking at it more closely. So for that reason, I made the motion that we move forward like we're doing to be fair to our builders, the ones who are investing in this community for years to come. Long after I'm dead and gone, this is going to be to our advantage. And again, this is something that we can look at in the next budget fiscal year and, maybe a baby step, as far as an increase and not slam them like that all at one time.
Mr. Honeycutt, my remarks aren't, we're talking at cross purposes. We're talking across each other. There's nothing that I stated that was incorrect. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. I'm stating, as confirmed by the town manager, that the budget proposal line by line was listed properly within the budget, available to the public, provided proper notice. We don't disagree on that. You've stated we agree on that. Whether it was read by members is up to them. The better method would be to keep the budget as is and address this in the appropriate budget process beginning in January, February, when it can go through, again, public hearing, consideration by the budget committee for what that's worth, and then presentation to the town council.
Question.
Councilman Moody?
Go ahead, Vice Mayor. I'm sorry.
Mr. Council, I will try to cliff note this as quickly as I can. As I addressed in the last council meeting in August, the budget was properly advertised. It was presented to council. It was in the paper. It was presented to the public. That was all legal, it was all by the book. What we did not do is to verbally notify the public about this increase. I knew it was in the budget. I saw it. I read it. We had discussed it 2 years ago in budget and finance. We did not discuss it during this past budget finance meetings. We didn't talk about it at all, but I knew it was there. My thought process is that we would be unfair to the general public who relies upon the council to basically let them know of any rate fee increase that we are imposing. We did not do that verbally. Many people do not read the budget. It's a very boring thing to read when you get right down to it. It's over 100 pages. They rely upon us to tell them what is in the budget, and we did not do it. I will take that responsibility because I knew it was there. I should have, and I didn't. But I think this is the only fair way to deal with the situation as it is presented to us right now. We are notifying the public now that we want to go back to the old rate, and then we will look at it again next year, period. That will be notification, and we will notify them again next spring if it comes to pass. And that's the purpose of my motion, followed up by Mr. Honeycutt.
Councilman Moss?
Can you explain to me what defines a standard hookup?
3/4 inch.
Okay.
Residential, a normal residential household.
Is it 10 feet of pipe, 100 feet of pipe, 500 feet of pipe? Where is the break for the additional charges?
Anything that is, and I'll ask CJ to help me, but residential connections, they're supposed to bring the meter, the water line to our right of way, but right next to it, right at the edge of the property line, you've probably seen the meter in your yard. They bring it there, and a standard connection goes from our water line to that water meter. That's what a standard.
So are most of them maybe 10 feet?
Probably less.
Or less than that?
What do you say, CJ?
Depending on which side of the street.
Street it's on, yeah. But a few, depending, yeah.
So if we have to bore under the street to get to the meter, then that's probably an additional fee.
Now, if it's a 3/4 inch meter.
Okay.
A regular residential is standard.
Residential, these are residential meters. A lot of times when we get to bigger things like apartments, it takes a bigger water line, a bigger meter, and you don't need depending on what the contractor decides, you don't need a meter for every apartment. You can have one big meter, saves everybody money in the long run to do it that way, to put in a bigger meter, and then the contractor or the developer can decide. But a regular residential 3/4 inch meter is what we're talking about.
So the customer has to get the water line to the right of way, and then once it's to the right of way,
to the meter.
To the meter.
We connect to the
Then we
meter.
connect to it.
If everything from the meter to the house or the structure belongs to the customer,
Gotcha.
we go up to the meter.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, clarity, and I think we have a motion, and we have a second.
We do.
You have that, Anna?
Yes.
Any further discussion?
In the motion, would you read it so that everyone is clear on it, please?
Effective September the 15th, to refer the minimum water connection fee to the fiscal year 21-22 rates until June the 30th, 2023.
Correct. Yes.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, council? Roll call, Anna.
Fagan Spoon,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Moss,
Yes.
and Taylor.
No.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, under the town manager's report, agenda item A refers back to the affirmation that was just approved for the sale of the water line to the Roanoke River Service Authority. And that was adopted on August 8th and affirmed tonight. And as part of that, it's the intent of the Mecklenburg County Public Schools, the Roanoke River Service Authority, and the town to enter a waiver and release agreement, which is attached, whereby MCPS waives and releases the town and the Service Authority from any claims related to the operation of the water line facilities pursuant to the representations and recitals and warranties listed in the agreement. So this is part of the closing of all the sale of the water line.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move to approve and adopt the waiver and release agreement related to the sale of the waterline facilities to the Roanoke River Service Authority as presented.
Any discussion?
Yes, just Kim, real quick, I'm sorry, Mr. Callis, I'm sorry. Well, tell me, name off those again. You said it was the school and just list the.
It's the three parties, the school, the
Yes,
Service
sir.
Authority, and the town.
Okay, all right, thank you.
It's agreement among all three parties.
All right, I just didn't hear one of them. Thank you.
And I don't want to make an assumption, but how would you have reviewed this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion?
Mr. Honeycutt, you should abstain.
Sir, yes, I am. Yes, thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion? Second. Do I
Yeah,
have a
motion,
motion? Second. Okay, roll call, Ann?
Bacon Spoon,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Abstain.
Lester,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Moss,
Yes.
and Taylor.
Yes.
And correct me, but Mr. Honeycutt, I'm assuming you are abstaining due to your position with the Mecklenburg County School Board.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Thank you.
The next item, the South Hill Chamber of Commerce is busy planning its fall crawl and hometown Christmas events. And in years past, they are requesting some street closures. On Saturday, October 29th, they're requesting that we close Southeast Main Street over here between the Town Hall and the Chamber for the fall crawl costume contest and trick-or-treating. And then from Friday, December 2nd through Sunday, December 4th, they'd like to close the Mecklenburg Avenue extension, which is between the Farmers Market and the library, East Danville Street, from Mecklenburg to Brook in front of the library, and again, Southeast Main Street out here for the hometown Christmas event. And then on Sunday, September the 4th, close the main thoroughfares from Air Tech out on East Danville Street to First Baptist Church on North Mecklenburg Avenue. And actually, that should be
December.
West
December.
Danville Street. To First Baptist Church on North Mecklenburg Avenue. And that's the traditional Christmas parade route. The parade is scheduled to begin at 2. And the Chamber would also like to have permission to have a light pole decorating contest downtown on our decorative street lamps, and they have assured us that the decorations would be lightweight and would not in any way harm the poles. And the Public Works Department, the Police Department have reviewed the request and are fine with all of it.
So I'd like to make a motion that we move forward as Kim was presented with the different events for the Chamber and the street closures. And just to piggyback on what he said, I know the town of Clarksville does the decorating of the light poles and all for their harvest days and all. It really is cool. It gets the businesses and all involved, so it's pretty neat. So I'd like to make a motion that we move with those street closures for those events.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Mayor, being a member of the Chamber of Commerce, I'm a board member, but I can vote fairly without conflict on this, and I would vote yes. I just wanted to disclose my board position.
All right. And the last item I have for you is we received a formal request from Melvin E. Brown III to pipe a section of a creek that runs through 2 vacant parcels in a residential area over in the Meadow Street, Brook Avenue, Robertson Street area. And these parcels are privately owned by the Brown family. And vegetation around the creek is overgrown significantly and has not been maintained. And there are a couple of photographs in your package of that. Over many years, members of the Brown family have made a request. Mrs. Brown has made a couple of requests of the town to pipe that creek on private property. And as with other parties who have asked about piping creeks and streams, they were informed that the maintenance of private property is the owner's responsibility and not that of the town. And we further explained that the town does not have authority over streams and creeks. The town has helped clean up that creek a couple of times, bush hog it, but each time the growth has come back, it has not been maintained. Mr. Brown also stated in his email that the town piped other sections of that creek decades ago, but we could not find any information in our records to that effect. So that everyone understands, streams and creeks, and I say generally here, but they fall under the Clean Water Act, and that's administered by the Environmental Protection Agency. The permitting of changes to streams and creeks is delegated to the Army Corps of Engineers. And according to the EPA, small streams, including those that do not flow all the time, make up the majority of the country's waters. And they go on to say that small streams are often unnamed and don't appear on maps, and they appear significant, but they are critical to the health of the entire river network and downstream communities throughout the country. So piping a stream is not a simple matter. It requires a rigorous and exhaustive administrative process to obtain permits that are issued by the Army Corps of Engineers, and then it would take a significant expense to engineer and install a piping system. Doing so is not the responsibility of a local government, nor is it part of our capital budget. I asked Sam Carroll of B&B Consultants for his thoughts on the requirements and expense of piping the creek. He has not had a chance to give me any numbers, but he confirmed that you have to go through the Corps of Engineers, and it is a very, very detailed, time-consuming process. I also reached out to the Planning District Commission across the street about the possibility of obtaining grant funds for this purpose, and I was told that none are available for this type of request. And I also included a map in your packet that shows the extent of the streams and creeks that run throughout the town. There are many, many, many miles of them. So with that, our motion, our recommendation is that the town not get into the business of piping streams and creeks that are on private property. Because it would be extraordinarily expensive, extraordinarily time-consuming, and it is not the town's responsibility to improve private property.
Question. In Mr. Brown's letter, he stated that the town had a permanent easement there for sewer lines and town utilities. Is this the area where he's talking about for the pipe the creek? Is this part of what the town has a permanent easement on? The area that he says?
The sewer line is not part of the creek. The creek is just independent of there. We have a number of sewer easements all over the town, and a creek is not used to convey sewer.
And the town utilities is not in the same area where he's talking about, the permanent easement that the town has with this property.
CJ, can you speak to exactly where that easement is?
You want me to come up?
Yeah, if you would,
Sure,
please.
come on, please.
The sewer easement that goes right through there parallels the creek, but it is probably, I'm guessing, 20 to 30 feet from the creek, but it parallels that.
Because that same type of creek or whatever comes from the back of my house that goes directly over toward his house.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I'm at, because I know they got it, y'all have an easement through our property too,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
that's why I was questioning.
That's right.
Yeah, Councilman Taggart?
Thank you. So I want to make sure I'm clear. Mr. Brown, he wants the pipe and for the town to clean the vegetation, right? I mean, that's what I gleaned from his request.
Well, in order to pipe that creek,
You got to clean out the vegetation.
and it's heavy.
Right.
Yes.
Has he given an explanation as to why he doesn't clean it up?
No.
Okay. And I'm not being sarcastic.
He doesn't.
I'm actually
He does
want to
not.
make sure I vet the
He does
request.
not. He's in the military, or he was, and he does not live here full time. He lives
Okay.
down east, I believe in Williamsburg. In Williamsburg is what the
I saw
mailing
his
address
address.
is.
Okay. Is this So is he having flooding issues in that area?
He did not mention any.
Okay.
I went over there last Friday, and I tried to find the creek, and it is so grown up, I couldn't even find the creek. It's gotta be in there somewhere, but that's how grown up it is. I could see the easement that had been cut through at the town used. I could see that very easily. But that creek's in there somewhere, that's how grown up it is over there. And what you're telling us is the town has never undertaken a project of this as far as you know.
We couldn't find any records over there where the town had paid for anything that was done over there.
Creek is on the other side of Robinson Street.
Yeah,
On the other side
I drove down in there, yeah.
Mr. Callis, I want to thank you for the memo. The memo was expertly written. It covered every basis of the request as well as what the town had suggested as to why this would not work. But also, you were kind enough to make suggestions in terms of perhaps proposing grant funding and exploring every possible option. So I thank you for helping the perhaps not constituent, but taxpayer.
Yeah, that is in my neighborhood, in the Twin Oaks subdivision. And I don't know Mr. Brown's family very well, but that would also have been a concern of mine. Because like you said, it's vastly overgrown. But going through what I recently did, I did not have the opportunity to go and look and survey and everything myself, but I was very much interested in what could, if anything, be done on Mr. Brown and his family's, for them. I understand your answer, Ms. Callis, and I thank you for going through the effort to try to find a solution. Of course, it's not going to be good news to Mr. Brown, but I think we've done our due diligence on it.
Councilman Hunter?
I'm good.
Okay. Anything else?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to decline the request to pipe the creek that extends between Brook Avenue and Robinson Street through private property owned by the Browns family.
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? Roll call, Ann?
Bacon-Spoon?
Yes.
Graham?
Yes.
Honeycutt?
No.
Lester?
Yeah.
Moody?
Yes.
Moss?
Yes.
And Taylor?
Yes.
At last month's council meeting, there was discussion regarding investment of funds and transferring funds to an investment account. And at council's direction, funds in the amount of $9 million were transferred to the VIP Stable NAV liquidity pool in August, pending a recommendation from the Budget and Finance Committee. The Budget and Finance Committee met this evening prior to this meeting, and based upon updated rate information that was received today, and the indication that the Fed intends to increase rates again later this month, staff recommends no action be taken on this matter tonight. Staff will schedule meetings with the top two proposers and the Budget and Finance Committee towards the end of this month after the Fed meets again and have a recommendation for the council at the October meeting.
Question. How does that play with Councilman Taylor's motion? And I'm going from memory. Wasn't it about a 30-day deadline, Councilman Taylor? Was that in your motion or just your wishes? I know you were very adamant to have it done quickly.
And I appreciate you recalling that, Mr. Moss. It was my wishes. It was my preference. It was an argument that I made that we at least have a timeline. Thank you. Preference.
Okay. All right, thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Okay, council, in your packet was reports to be approved as presented for the month of August. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Committee reports. Hearing none. Okay. The next thing on the agenda, council, is appointments. We have 3 tonight. In regards to the South Hill Planning Commission, Laurie J. Malone resigned from the South Hill Planning Commission on June 12th, 2022. Woody Oakley has expressed an interest in serving on the planning commission again. Mr. Oakley was contacted and has agreed to serve out Ms. Malone's term ending December 31st, 2023, if council so desires.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Helen M. Chessman recently resigned from the Lake Country Area Agency on Aging. The agency recommends Phyllis Speed to serve in the capacity. Ms. Speed was contacted and has agreed to serve out Ms. Chessman's term ending September the 30th, 2023, if council so desires.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ben Taylor Jr. officially resigned from his South Hill Town Council Ward 2 seat on August the 9th, 2022. Randy Crocker was contacted and has agreed to serve out Mr. Taylor's term ending December the 31st, 2022, if council so desires. Mr. Crocker will be attending our regular September meeting, and council will be given the opportunity to ask questions of him prior to voting. General elections for this position will be held November the 8th, 2022, for the term beginning January 1, 2023. Mr. Crocker is here tonight if council has any questions or concerns.
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with Mr. Crocker serving South Hill Town Council Ward 2 vacancy ending December the 31st of 2022.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes. I would just like to, you say Mr. Crocker is here?
Yes.
Oh,
If you will come to the microphone, Mr. Crocker.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mr. Crocker.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm just fine.
Okay. I don't have any questions. Mr.
Okay.
Crocker.
Oh.
I just want to see you.
Well, I'm a lifelong citizen of South Hill,
Yep.
except from the time I was in the service in college. And I've worked in several businesses, and I love South Hill.
Yes, sir. And how long did you say you had lived in South?
I was born and raised,
That's pretty good.
and I'm pretty old.
Thank you, Mr. Crocker.
Okay.
We appreciate your willingness to serve.
Absolutely.
So council, do we have a motion? And a second?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All those, roll call, Anna.
Fagan Spoon,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Lester,
Yeah.
Moody,
Yes.
Moss,
Yes.
and Taylor.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, council. Other business? Good Lord.
Oh.
Yes.
I just wanted to take a moment, Mr. Mayor, town staff, even the citizens of South Hill, Virginia, members of council, everyone that heard about the passing of my husband, Gilbert, who was also a longtime member of this community, have been so kind, and very supportive, and just more than kind, especially the staff, every member of the staff. I wanted to just take this opportunity to publicly thank you and to tell you how very much it meant to me and my family. We're very honored and we appreciate you. Thank you.
And he will be missed because he attended many of our meetings.
He sure did.
Yeah, he was a quiet supporter.
He was here till 6 months
Yes.
before he, passed away.
Thank you. Okay, council, I would entertain a motion to convene in closed session to discuss the following as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A, subsection 8, legal matter involving consultation with counsel on advice on FOIA compliance.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
everyone, this is Sandro. I hope you enjoy using
Microphone's back on. Microphone. Let it. Jonathan.
Okay, council, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the closed session and reconvene in open session.
So.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Abstain.
All right, we're now in open session. I would entertain a motion to certify the closed session by affirming that while in closed session, there was no formal action taken, that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements were discussed, and only public business matters identified in the motions convening the closed session were heard, discussed, or considered. I would entertain a motion to certify this.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, Anna?
Bacon Spoon,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Moss,
This would be my abstention.
and Taylor.
Yes.
All right, again, I remind everyone that in memory of Gilbert, I now adjourn the meeting.